And at number 10, Britney Spears. Back in 2007, while Britney was gaining a bad reputation and becoming more of a party girl, she frequented a West Hollywood hotspot called Winston's. Apparently throughout the time she's been going to that club, she's been a trouble for the staff. But of course, she's Britney Spears, so they let a lot of things slide. But she was officially kicked out and banned on Halloween night when she forced a reluctant bartender to trade costumes with her. This was the last straw after months of bad behavior. Some of this included dancing on tables and getting in people's faces. One source also said that Britney was uncomfortably smitten with the manager of the establishment, Harold Carcenti. The manager is a total stud according to the sources, but he is trying to remain professional with Britney. And at number 9, Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton was banned from the Wynn Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas after a little bag of white powder was found in her purse. I can't say what it is, but you catch my drift. Apparently while she was out, she reached into her bag to grab lip balm, and this bag fell out onto the ground for everyone to see. Apparently police lieutenant happened to be standing close by and grabbed this bag off the floor in order to look at what it was. It was also reported that the car she was riding in smelled heavily of another substance, not helping her case. After even more was found in the car, both Paris and her boyfriend were arrested and banned from the casino for life. And at number 8, Mumford and Sons. After the band finished playing a concert in Atlanta, Georgia, they decided to head to Claremont Lounge, a strip club. The band got a bit rowdy and the group singer decided to go on the stage and start singing and dancing with these dancers. But one of the other members made the mistake of pulling out his phone and recording a video of his friend, which is very against the rules in these establishments and can even be illegal in some cases. And when they were asked to put their phones away, they started yelling at security. One of the band members even got mad at the DJ for ruining his song. The whole band was then thrown out for breaking the rules and being rowdy. And at number 7, Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan used to be one of Hollywood's hottest stars, but then she started to hang around the wrong crowd and her career turned into a downward spiral. When studios were not sure if they could count on her, they blacklisted her and she was no longer making money from acting. But that doesn't mean she stopped living life like she had before, and she kept spending money like she always had. But in 2012 this behavior caught up with her and she was banned from the Chateau Marmont Hotel in West Hollywood after she failed to pay her $40,000 tab. A letter from the property's general manager to Lohan later revealed that they wouldn't be able to host Lohan again until she settled her bills. And at number 6, Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman got too rowdy while out at Laguna Beach's surf and sand resort in 2010, and police were actually called to kick him out. This doesn't help Rodman's already controversial reputation, as he famously got tons of backlash for declaring himself the unofficial ambassador to North Korea. According to the Orange County Register, Rodman was asked to quiet down several times while he was out at the establishment, but he refused to comply, so the bar called the police to escort him out. We're not sure if he was banned from ever going back, but we can assume he wouldn't go back even if he wasn't banned. Halfway number 5, Amanda Bynes. The former child star was banned from the Standard Hotel's nightclub in Hollywood after they felt she needed to sober up. This took place in 2012 when she was gaining a bad reputation in the city. The nightclub in the hotel is called Smoke and Mirrors, and she apparently arrived at the club hours after she was released following a DUI suspicion, according to Travel and Leisure. But Bynes is very familiar with getting kicked out of places, and it's been reported she was kicked out of a number of establishments and properties for being rude and entitled to staff, along with just making a mess. And at number 4, Drake. Drake is known for being an all-around great guy who rarely has problems with other celebrities, so the one time he was kicked out of a club, it was probably for his own good. The only time he has ever been at the center of drama was when he and Chris Brown got in a physical fight at a New York City nightclub. Shortly after this incident, Drake showed up at the Playhouse in LA with his crew, ready to have a good time, but he was actually turned away at the door and not allowed in. The reason was because Chris Brown was already sitting in the VIP section of that club and Rihanna was on her way there. The place didn't want to take the chance of the two men fighting again, so they respectfully told Drake to leave, which he did. And at number 3, Pusha T. Pusha T was banned from a nightclub and was even taken to court. It all started when the rapper made a deal with the Cameo Club in Miami to make an appearance at the venue. Part of this agreement was that he couldn't go to any other clubs in the area 15 days before his scheduled appearance, which makes sense because this club needed to ensure some sort of exclusivity so fans would pay to see Pusha at their venue. But apparently he did not respect this contract, and the rapper was seen out at the Dream nightclub the night before he was supposed to go to Cameo. Cameo then filed a lawsuit against Pusha T, asking for $13,000 in lost sales. And at number 2, Justin Bieber. When When the preteen star turned into a full-fledged teenager, he was rebelling and got in a lot of trouble. I'm sure you've heard a lot of the stories already, but there was a point in time where Justin Bieber had about the same reputation as Jake Paul, so not good. Once while in Vienna, he and his crew were thrown out of a nightclub. Apparently, Justin and his crew were grabbing at women inappropriately and just making people uncomfortable. They were also accused of smashing a few phones that were trying to record Justin's antics. After all this, they were tossed out of the club. And it seems that Justin also has a bad reputation in Miami, as his crew was denied VIP tables at Live and Story in Miami earlier that year. And finally, number 1, Rihanna. Rihanna loves to party, just like anyone else. But while out at a London nightclub, she took it too far and was almost kicked out. Luckily for her, the club did not want to throw out a superstar, so she was allowed to stay. According to a source, while she was out, she was seen, quote, jumping on a table and smashing it. Security then approached her and told her to calm down, but then she climbed onto a private table and fell, breaking glasses and the bottles in the process. The security then grabbed her and kicked her out, and her friend screamed, "That's Rihanna, you idiots." Rihanna then started yelling, "Don't they know who I am?" while her friends talked to security. According to The Sun, Dortmund only allowed the star to remain in the Rose Club after a discussion, and after the whole debacle, the manager of the location actually sent the girls free drinks.
Coming in at number 10, Kenya Moore. The Real Housewives of New York star ruffled some feathers at a restaurant and was kicked out for changing her baby's diaper in their establishment. Kenya dished about the incident on Instagram last year, saying that she was super embarrassed that she had no idea that there was a rule against changing your baby in a restaurant in New York City. She shared the post and promoted an app for moms that helped them navigate through motherhood, joking that she used the app to learn about other places where she can't change her baby's diaper. To be fair, I didn't know this was some kind of unwritten rule. I mean, I'm not a mom, so why would I? But I don't know, I just figured that it would be allowed. Also, I don't know if she was changing the diaper in the bathroom or in the dining room. If it was the latter, I understand her getting kicked out, but if not, then why? Sorry, Kenya. At number 9, Stuart Rahr. Billionaire philanthropist Stuart Rahr is no longer welcome at a popular restaurant thanks to his poor behavior. After throwing a bit of a tantrum at Midtown's Nobu 57, Stuart Rahr is no longer welcome at that location, nor any other Nobu restaurant. It was reported that Rahr made quite the scene after not being able to be seated at his favorite table. According to sources, the billionaire was caught trying to pay off guests in order to secure his favorite spot, and when caught, he fired back at a manager using some pretty colorful language. According to the restaurant staff, Rahr arrived at the restaurant late, and upon his arrival he marched up to his table and demanded that the people sitting there leave because it was his spot. I can't tell if this guy sounds more like Sheldon Cooper in this scenario or a toddler. He also sent angry emails to the restaurant executives and added several A-list celebrities to the thread, and even went back to the restaurant to harass staff. In the end, he got banned for life, and it looks like you're never gonna get your spot back, Stu. And at 8, Ruby Rose. Apparently Ruby Rose caused such a ruckus at a restaurant in 2016 that the restaurant's owner had to kick her out. While dining at the Rebellion Bar and Urban Kitchen, Ruby threw quite a tantrum and even threw french fries at staff. But her outburst wasn't necessarily unwarranted. According to Ruby, she had been waiting for her food for over 90 minutes, which would already anger a customer, but she was also getting egged on by the restaurant's bartender. The bartender was mocking and making fun of Ruby for refusing drinks and made fun of her sobriety. Kind of a dick move. So between the rude bartender and the long wait, Ruby just kind of lost her patience and got pretty mad. Although I don't think that the french fry throwing was really necessary. Coming in at number 7, Aretha Franklin. Aretha Franklin was kicked out of a fast food establishment for probably the dumbest reason ever. The Queen of Soul told her story about having gone to a Johnny Rockets after performing at a sold-out show, and she just ordered a hamburger to go. Seems innocent enough, right? Well, when she got the burger, she decided that she was going to sit down and eat it instead of taking it to go, so she grabbed a table. One of the restaurant's employees didn't accept that and really just started ripping on the singer, saying that she couldn't just find any table she wanted and sit down without permission, and then she was kicked out. I mean, the woman just finished doing a sold-out concert. Let her sit down and eat her burger, for crying out loud. After Aretha told sources about what happened, the employee got a talking to, as the employer said that they were still new and didn't know any better, but sheesh, it was just a burger, dude. At number 6, Jamie Foxx. In 2017, Jamie Foxx and a group of his friends were involved in an altercation at a restaurant that ended up with them getting kicked out. The group was dining at Catch in West Hollywood, a very popular spot because the incident that followed was actually witnessed by Jerry Bruckheimer, Cuba Gooding Jr., and Michael Bay. The incident began when a man went up to Jamie Foxx's table complaining that they were being too loud. One witness claims that the man told them, quote, "You don't want to mess with me, I'm from New York," to which a member of Jamie's group replied, "F you, I'm from Oakland." I don't know what any of that means, but I guess it was bad. Apparently, at this point, the man lunged at Jamie, pulling him down onto a table, and then Jamie turned around and put the guy in a chokehold. After this physical altercation, both Jamie's group as well as the man who provoked them were all asked to leave the restaurant. I understand that both parties were in the fight, but that one guy is the one who started the whole thing in the first place. I feel like he should have been the one who got kicked out since he was the one being unruly in the first place. But that's just my opinion. Halfway through at number 5, Tommy Lee. Musician Tommy Lee and his wife, former Vine star Britney Furlan, were thrown out of a high-end restaurant in New Orleans after being unruly. According to an article by TMZ, the couple were looking to dine at the Emerald Lagasse Delmonico restaurant when an altercation began. Tommy and Britney entered the restaurant wearing hats, and according to the restaurant's dress code, they aren't allowed to wear them and were asked to take their hats off. This is when Tommy kind of lost his lid, so to speak, and got upset and threw some colorful language about, but eventually removed his hat as they were seated at their table. But it wasn't too long after that that an employee came up to them asking about his use of profanity in the restaurant. Tommy got even more frustrated with the staff, and after a long spew of profanities, the restaurant's employees were forced to remove the pair from the premises. A few F-bombs later, the couple were forced to find somewhere else to eat. And at 4, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. With the growing political tensions in the US, there was bound to be a story concerning someone's political views, and this is it. The former White House press secretary who served under President Donald Trump was kicked out of a dining establishment in 2018 because of her connection and support of Trump. The owner of the Red Hen restaurant in Lexington, Virginia, was notified of Sanders' attendance at their farm-to-table meal and asked the press secretary to leave the premises. Owner Stephanie Wilkinson told sources that one of her chefs called her at home to tell her that Sanders was in the restaurant and that there were concerns with her being there. This prompted Stephanie to go over to the restaurant and make the decision to remove Sanders from the premises. The concern was that as the press secretary worked under Donald Trump and was one of his supporters who has defended anti-LGBTQ issues, Stephanie wanted to ensure the comfort and safety of her employees, many of whom identify as part of the LGBT community. Both parties were civil about Sanders' removal, though it did end up attracting a lot of media attention. Coming in at number 3, Rita Ora. Rita Ora is one of the industry's biggest stars, so you wouldn't think that she'd be turned away from a restaurant, but that's exactly what happened to her one day. She spoke about her experience with being kicked out of a restaurant on Jonathan Ross's show along with Ed Sheeran and Gordon Ramsay. According to Rita, she was interested in dining at one of Gordon Ramsay's restaurants because it's so popular, and I mean, it's Gordon Ramsay. Who wouldn't want to dine there? She told her story saying, quote, "I obviously wasn't dressed the part. I walked in was like, ooh, I'd love a little meal, you know? And then they were like, no, this isn't happening for you." Apparently Rita didn't meet the restaurant's dress code, which is supposed to be more formal, and wasn't allowed entry. Rita said that she was wearing a tracksuit and sneakers when she tried to get in, but to be fair, a lot of celebrities, especially rappers, are wearing that too, and it would be considered okay. Either way, she didn't get in that time, but Gordon promised her that she'd be able to dine at his restaurant at some other time. In at 2, Kit Harington. Game of Thrones star Kit Harington was less than chivalrous at a bar in NYC, resulting him in getting removed from the establishment by staff members. According to a report from TMZ in 2018, the King in the North was having a night out at the bar playing pool and drinking to excess. During the pool match, it is said that the actor got a little unruly and belligerent and was asked to leave the premises, which he did. But a little while later, he came back to the bar and at that point had to be forcefully removed from the bar. Kit has since come out to address his excessive drinking, saying that he was having a hard time coping with the end of Game of Thrones, and with that ending, I don't blame him. After filming Wrapped on the HBO show, Kit actually checked himself into rehab for his own well-being and sought out therapy to help him cope with the evolving career. And at number 1, Britney Spears. Back in 2007, during her public fall from grace, Britney Spears put on quite the spectacle, which ended up getting her kicked out of an eating establishment. While dining at the Chateau Marmont, Britney was really giving her compliments to the chef because she seemed to have really enjoyed her food. Maybe a little bit too much. Diners were shocked to see Britney smearing her face with the gourmet food in a show of inappropriate behavior. As a result, she was removed from the premises and has been banned from the restaurant. People who witnessed Britney's behavior said that they wouldn't even expect this kind of thing from teenagers, and even added that royalty have dined at the Chateau Marmont, and this behavior was absolutely unacceptable. Apparently, when Britney arrived at the hotel, she looked out of it, and others even pointed out that she didn't even recognize another famous diner, Victoria Beckham, who also said that Britney was acting weird. Because the Chateau was such a high-profile place, she could have made a better reputation for herself from them, but instead ended up looking way worse. At number 10, Lincoln Park. I can't say I've ever been to any kind of award show, but from what I gather with these high-profile ceremonies, it's pretty exclusive and security is very tight. I mean, it would have to be when there's a big room of celebrities and crazy fans outside the venue trying to catch a glimpse of their favorite person. It's great for those who are invited because they know they'll have a mostly smooth trip to the show, but sometimes there can be mix-ups and it can cause quite the headache. One of these headaches occurred at the AMAs one year, and it resulted in the band Linkin Park getting kicked out of the award show. Back in 2017, the band was at the AMAs to accept the award for favorite alternative artist, but because of a mix-up with their credentials, they ended up spending most of the night battling with security to let them into the event. One of the bandmates documented the whole ordeal on their Instagram story, where they explained that they weren't given the right tickets and passes for backstage, and they spent a long time dodging security before eventually being kicked out. I feel like security should have a list of those who are attending the event so that this doesn't happen, but maybe things have changed since this incident. At number 9, Lily Allen. I think it goes without saying, but don't take substances. Especially strange substances that were randomly given to you. Singer Lily Allen certainly did not follow that advice, as it got her in so much trouble that she ended up getting kicked out of an award show. Lily told the story of what happened on her Twitter when a fan asked to hear about a time that they were kicked out of somewhere. The singer told the fan about how they got kicked out of the Glamour Awards several years back because they did a line of what they thought was "no no snow," but it turned out to be a very different substance. Lily followed that up by saying, quote, "I was thrown out, passed over some railings of the Glamour Awards for being a K-hole," end quote. It's an unfortunate story, but it also once again reminds us to not take substances. Keep your noses clean, folks. Don't do it. Now, before I carry on with the rest of the video, I would like to ask you guys to consider leaving a big ol' thumbs up on this video if you're enjoying it so far, because it really does help the channel out and we love seeing your support. At number 8, Russell Brand. Russell Brand can be kind of an outspoken guy. He's the type of person who always says what's on his mind, and he often faces mild amounts of backlash for it. Like last year when he tried mansplaining WAP. That was definitely fun. But his words have also gotten him in trouble at award shows, and he's been kicked out of one for making some not so funny jokes. This all took place back in 2013 when he was attending the GQ Men of the Year award. When Russell was on stage, he started cracking jokes about the award show sponsor Hugo Boss, making fun at the fact that this brand had a history of providing uniforms for the German soldiers in World War II. You know, those guys. Anyways, Russell made a comment about this saying, quote, "Any of you who know a little bit about history and fashion will know that Hugo Boss made the uniforms for the Nazis. The Nazis did have flaws, but you know, they did look f***ing fantastic. Let's face it, while they were killing people on the basis of their religion and sexuality," end quote. As you can imagine, nobody found this joke funny at all. In fact, it was so unfunny that Russell was promptly kicked out of the show. It was very offensive, but he stuck to his guns, so to speak, continuing to comment on it via Twitter, but we don't need to talk about that today. At number 7, One Direction. Back in the day, One Direction was one of the biggest groups in the music industry, so any news about them was of course amplified by their fans. One story that caught a lot of people's attention was how a couple of the band's members had allegedly been kicked out of an award show, but as things on the internet do, details got lost and rewritten, so really no one knows exactly what happened that night, but I'll tell you about all the speculation that went on then. The band was at the AMAs back in 2015, and at some point during that evening, a picture of bandmates Niall Horan and Louis Tomlinson started circulating around Twitter, saying that they had been kicked out of the event for messing around too much. Soon fans started speculating, and that speculation turned into the following story. Apparently, once again, according to the internet, the two band members were hitting each other in the nuts, and so they got kicked out for being rowdy. Once this story started going around, reps of the band tried to clarify that the picture that started it all was taken as the lads were waiting to return after a commercial break, but at this point, everyone was ready to run with the ball story, so honestly, I don't know what to believe. The only solid information we have is that those two were sitting outside of the show. At number 6, Ryan Seacrest. Imagine being invited to one of Hollywood's biggest events just to get kicked out out moments after you arrive. I feel like that would really suck because you would really hype yourself up to experience something so extraordinary only to be let down and have your dreams crushed. Well, maybe not so dramatic, but it still wouldn't feel very nice. This is essentially what happened to Ryan Seacrest as he was invited to the Oscars awards ceremony and was kicked out shortly after arriving. According to Ryan, he was invited to the award show to provide the segue from the pre-show event to the main award show. But after he completed his task, he went to go find his seat because he assumed that he would be staying for the rest of the show. While he was looking for his seat, he was approached by the event's ushers and managers and was told, quote, "Mr. Seacrest, your car is ready," end quote. He was a little taken aback and was like, no, what do you mean? I just opened the show. To which they replied with, quote, "We don't have a ticket for you." Ouch. Ryan continued explaining what happened next, saying, quote, "So they put me in a car and they drove me out, and the next thing I know, I'm on Hollywood Boulevard going away from the Oscars. And the LAPD and the cops are on the corner, the windows down, and they say, 'Hey Ryan, you're going the wrong way.' I said, 'No, I'm going the right way.' They sent me home to watch on television like everyone else," end quote. That must have really stung, but at least he was able to get into some comfy clothes to watch the show from the comfort of his couch instead of being stuck in a suit sitting next to celebrities who don't wear deodorant or something. At number 5, Adam Pally. I figured that it would take a lot for someone to get kicked out of an event like the Shorty Awards. I mean, this award show is for social media stars and influencers, and they cause all kinds of shenanigans all the time. So I figured that this kind of energy was given at an event like this, but apparently someone has gone that extra mile to get kicked out of this event, and that was actor Adam Pally. Adam was at the award show back in 2018 to present an award, but apparently he thought that the concept of the entire award show was so dumb, and so he decided to rip on it for a good 10 minutes before getting escorted out of the event. As soon as he got to the stage, Adam started his commentary by saying, quote, "Thank you very much for having me tonight at the Shorty Awards, the waiting at the DMV of award shows," end quote. I mean, he's not wrong. He then followed up with a handful of other jokes, essentially making fun of the supposed legitimacy of the award show, but then he made one comment that was the last straw for the show's executives when he said, quote, "Tonight we pay tribute to those who are not with us. We're going to do an in memoriam for a bunch of, I don't know, like MySpace or something." End quote. He was escorted out of the event soon after. At number 4, Allison King. Once again, we have to talk about celebrities being under the influence in public. I understand that a lot of award shows serve drinks and whatnot, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go overboard with the booze, because that can lead you to getting kicked out, and that's what happened with actress Allison King at the National Television Awards last year. The Coronation Street actress had to be escorted out of the event because she started drinking to excess, and that certainly wasn't a good look for those who were running the show. Other guests in attendance commented on the actress's state at the award show, saying that she was acting a little disorderly and pretty out of it because of how much alcohol she had consumed, and so once this came to the attention of the event's executives, they had to get her out of there for their sake and for Allison's. I would imagine that something like that would be pretty embarrassing, so let this serve as a reminder to drink responsibly, guys. At number 3, Kid Rock and Tommy Lee. While attending an award show, you have to respect what's going on stage. Whether it's a performance or the actual awards being presented, it's important to be a good audience member and not cause a scene in the middle of the event. Clearly, however, Kid Rock and Tommy Lee didn't quite get this memo, because when they attended the VMAs in 2007, they caused quite the scene and ended up getting kicked out because of it. The pair got into a heated argument during Alicia Keys' performance that started as a verbal fight and ended in an all-out brawl with slaps, punches, and the whole 9 yards. Other guests in attendance were stunned while they watched this fight unfold. Some tried to get out of the way as security rushed to break the scene up, and others just sat at the table stunned. The police were eventually called in to handle the situation, but this fight was certainly not something that people would forget anytime soon. At number 2, Hattie McDaniel. Now, this incident didn't exactly result in someone getting kicked out, but it almost did. Back in 1940, actress Hattie McDaniel was nominated for an Academy Award, and she actually ended up winning the Oscar. However, she was almost unable to accept the honor because she was black, and they almost didn't let her attend the ceremony. Back then, the venue where the award ceremony was held was a whites-only establishment, so people had to pull a lot of strings to get the actress in the building, and even then, she wasn't allowed to sit with the rest of the cast of Gone with the Wind. Instead, she was seated in the far corner of the venue, but as long as she was there and able to accept the award, that was enough. She made history that night, and it's wild to think how different things would have been if she had been kicked out that night. And finally, at number 1, Aubrey Plaza. Even though many have tried, I feel like award shows aren't the place to be pulling weird stunts because they never end well. I mean, look at Kanye's VMA moment. It was straight up cringy. But even the embarrassment factor can't stop all celebrities from pulling stunts at these events, and actress Aubrey Plaza is one of those stars who tried to pull one of these stunts and it totally backfired and got her kicked out of the event. While attending the MTV Movie Awards back in 2013, Aubrey ran up on stage barefoot and tried to pry one of the golden popcorn trophies out of Will Ferrell's hands after he had just won the award for comedic genius. The comedian thought that the stunt was staged at first, but it turns out that this had been a publicity stunt from one of Aubrey's films called The To-Do List, which she had spelled out across her chest. It was just a really cringy moment, and I'm sure a lot of people have been trying to forget about it, so sorry for bringing it up again.